Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a book that I feel like, well, me and this book have got quite a bit of history. It was one of the first books I actually bought, but we're going to be going over Satan's Bible in today's video. And you might be thinking to yourself, Satan's Bible? Don't you mean the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey? And no, I don't. I literally mean Satan's Bible by Dr. Robert Frege. And this book on Amazon and wherever else you can buy it has a pretty bad rep for being, it's more of a smut book than it is a satanic one. I wouldn't even really call this book satanic. It does in this book claim to be a traditional satanic book. It's very far from what most Satanists believe. If anything, I feel like this book was written as an excuse to write a smut book, because a lot of, well, we'll get into that, we'll get into it. The majority of this book is literally just smut. There is nothing else, it's just adaptations of biblical stories into pretty graphic descriptions, and I'll be reading out a few of them later on, but there are a few spells and a few little tidbits of philosophy he tries to sprinkle throughout the book. His whole concept of how Satan works and interacts with the world is quite funny, so I thought we'd cover this book today. But before we even get into this, I'm just gonna outright say it to everyone: don't buy this book. Just don't buy this book. Wait till you get further into this video and you actually see the content of this book and make a decision then, because I really wouldn't want to push people into further funding this fucking insanity, because this book has it has nothing of value really. I think if anything it just serves to piss off Christians, and that's about it. All it really does is keep pushing the narrative that Satanists are actually like this, and that Satanists are actually openly like this towards other religions, which we're not. So yeah, before we even get further into this, just don't buy this book. Don't give this guy your money. He's a scam artist at best. But as always, before we get into that, I've got Patreon set up for this channel, so if you like what I do here, it's the first link in the description. Go down and get yourself a membership. The lowest is $5, the highest is $20. Get all sorts of perks with the memberships. You get early access, you get a shout out. And actually, speaking of shout outs, shout out to our Platinum Patreon. I think I still can't pronounce this. Shout out to I'm not even going to attempt to just shout out to this person for being really awesome and being the first Platinum Patreon. So yeah, if you like what I do here, go down and get yourself a membership. But getting back into the video. So for this video, I thought I'd structure it as if you're actually going through the book. So on first glance to the book, you may notice, well, my copy is a little bit beaten up, but you may notice it's overall not the best quality. Well, I think this is vinyl, but if you look really closely, you can, I'm not too sure if you'll be able to pick it up on the screen, but this graphic on the front of it is actually such low resolution, you can actually see the pixels. I'm not too sure if it'll pick up right on you, because YouTube compresses videos, but that's a topic for another time. I'm not too sure if you wanted to go for a pixel art kind of look, but it just looks low quality and really shit. And you'll also notice on the back that there's this lovely picture of the author, I think it's the author at least, with some sort of negative effect you've put over the picture. I don't know why you put this on the back instead of a blurb like anyone else, but you know, hey ho. Now, on first open of the book, you'll notice that he has another one of these lovely graphics and a nice copyright thing that says that you cannot copy or reproduce any bit of this book at all without express permission, or if it's being used in a scholarly journal, as if anybody would want to even pirate this book. Man, no one wants to even steal this book off you. I haven't even seen any PDFs of this one because of how shit it is. Another thing you may notice is that our friend Dr. Robert Frege runs a group called the Traditional Church of Theistic Satanism, which if future Ecstasy finds anything funny on their website, I'll probably put it here. So, Future Ecstasy, I didn't actually find anything on their website, because if you search up this URL, it comes to a website called Huge Domains, where they're trying to sell this. They're trying to sell this domain for an exorbitant amount of money every month. So if you want to steal this domain, that's that's up to you really. But that's all I found concerning the website. There's nothing else I've tried searching it up, but yeah, nothing showed up. And then as you finally get to the first pages, you'll realise how absolutely massive the writing in this book is. Like, that is ridiculous. I feel like I know the reason why he's done this. He's done this to stretch the book over like 200 pages or whatever. Because, believe it or not, this book actually, it doesn't contain a lot of information at all. It contains like 2 paragraphs per page, and that is it. It's not very efficient with how much space it has in each page. It's kind of silly really. I don't know why anyone would even format a book like this, because it's hard to read as well. Like, the font and everything, it's not good. You can tell this book was written in Google Docs. Just to give you a little taste of the insanity before we actually get into this book, I'm gonna just read you the preface. This book contains a collection of rituals, spells, incantations, and evocations collected by the author over the past 20 years. The rituals therein have been transmitted during meditation and astral dreaming. The majority of these rituals come from a tome that exists in another time and dimension. So, just in case you wanted any source for any of this, just know that it exists in another time and dimension. So if you can't find it, well, that's a skill issue for you, I suppose. So for a lot of the start bit of this book, it is really just yapping. So I'm gonna skip over a few bits, but I'm gonna be really outlining the bits that I feel are funny. And for this little bit, he's got the 8 points of Theistic Satanism, which is here, just in case you guys don't actually believe this is in the book. And I thought I'd also give you a little excerpt of this as well. The pentagram is just an imitation of the Star of Ishtar, and I'm not too versed on Ishtar. I'm pretty sure, I don't think I've even looked into that before, but I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there who would rip them to shreds over making that comparison. The Star of Ishtar has 8 points, and each point represents an aspect of Theistic Satanism. It is in my expert opinion that Theistic Satanism began in Sumeria, Babylon. The Ishtar star holds many meanings for different people, but for me it is a symbol of my faith. As a symbol of my faith, and as one of the most respected ministers representing Theistic Satanism. Alright, now I know you're lying. I would like to share with you knowledge that's been lost for thousands of years. So yeah, even 2 pages into this book, you can see how far up his own arse this guy is. And trust me, it doesn't get any better throughout the book. If anything, he gets even further up his own arse, which I didn't even know was even possible. He's quite flexible. He also has a dedication ritual which he calls baptism into the devil's family, which is about as tasteful as it gets really for this book. And it's very reminiscent of the Catholic baptism, obviously, because why would this guy ever write anything original at all? But yeah, it's very, very reminiscent of a Christian baptism. Essentially, you just sit in a bath, light some candles and some incense, and, you know, say whatever he wrote. But yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, again, as I said in other videos, rituals aren't really set, you know? Like, you can make your own rituals. This would work if you had intent for it to actually work and you wasn't just doing it because of the sake of doing it. But yeah, it's not a very long ritual. It didn't seem very thought out or anything either. But you know, you guys can probably find a PDF of this book and read through this insanity yourself. But once again, I think this is probably one of the only books I would encourage people to pirate. Don't buy this book. Don't give this guy any of your money. He also has instructions on how to make a contract with the devil. And I know this is a thing that a lot of Satanists also believe, like they believe in oaths and stuff, but not like quite literal contracts. But no, this guy believes in a very literal contract, and all you need is a paper or parchment and an ink pen. All you have to write is I_, well, your name, come to you as your son or daughter, and I seek you to grant me my desire, in brackets, your desire. In return I offer to fill my full devotion and my eternal soul, X, your signature. And then you just say a couple words and burn it in a graveyard, and apparently that's all you need to make an eternal binding contract with the infernal lord, according to Dr. Robert Frage. He also has another ritual which is called the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, and this is also another thing I've seen Satanists do, is some metaphorical sacrifice of Jesus Christ through using like consecrated wines and stuff like that. Again, I don't really see the point, like what would Satan even gain out of that? I don't think I can even see the logic in it, even if you did believe in the whole biblical thing and all that. Surely you would believe that, you know, it's just not, the dots aren't connected in my head. Like I said before, I'm skipping a lot of the first bit because a lot of it is, once again, just yapping. But he also has things like how to create thought forms and how to conjure non-human entities and stuff. A lot of stuff that you would find much better information on elsewhere, on much better books written by much better authors. Again, you can probably find a PDF of this book. I bet it's been pirated to fuck already, as every other satanic book has been. But if you want to read through this madness, just go find yourself a PDF. Just don't get any viruses. I don't want to be responsible for that. Another thing I'd like to mention, this is future Ecstasy again, by the way. Another thing I'd like to mention before we move on further into this video is that in the full form section, he actually uses it as a way to plug one of his songs on his Spotify. The song is called like The Mantra of Tiamat or whatever. He says the way you create a fourth form is by, you need to like charge the crystal by putting it on a speaker and playing this song, and then he uses that as a way to plug his song by saying it opens portals to the dimensions and shit like that. So I thought that was a little funny before we moved on. And it's also a really scummy thing to do as well. Like, why would you? Once again, if this guy couldn't get any further up his own arse. And now we get to the real meat and potatoes of this book. Chapter 2, Mythology, aka the Gospel of Filth. Now, this is where the book takes a real U-turn in the direction. This is where it goes from a satanic book to smut immediately. Right from this point, there is nothing to do with Satanism. It is just smut. And I will be reading a few of my favourite excerpts from the next couple pages. I'm going to read a couple of these quotes completely out of context. And I want you guys to play a game. Try see a conceivable way this could fit into a satanic book. Like, try see a way you could try teach a lesson from this, or show somebody the light of Satanism in these following quotes. Putting the glasses on for this one. We're gonna get scholarly in this bitch. With each thrust, Satan's vestal became inflamed and ready to erupt. Swallow his large, thick prick. Satan, Ea, and Nintura gathered around her, and through every orifice penetrated. Adam's seed mixed with the juice. Eve gently touched Lilith's gleaming pussy. Tiamat moaned and yelled as she opened herself wider. So, my age restriction aside, and possibly a community guideline strike, if you guessed that most of that was just from his creation story, because this guy does believe that Satan created humans in a quite literal sense, then, well, I don't know what to say to you. You must be really good at guessing things. So, for everyone at home, I'm just gonna simplify the version of his story, but without all the smut, because I feel like I may as well give you the general, like, you know, storyline of what's going on as I'm, like, reading through this shit. It's kind of like watching porn before the storyline. So the general gist of the story is that he believes that in the beginning there was just Satan, and then he created the earth and he created the lesser gods, and then the story goes on to a bunch of attempts to create life between all these gods. Like, at first he tries it with Tiamat, and then he tries it with one other god involved. And then at the end it all culminates into one big gangbang between all the gods that Satan has created. And I'm hoping you guys are starting to see why I think this book was written purely as an excuse to write a smut book, because it's quite graphic. Like, from the quotes I've read out, those are some of the better ones, those are some of the more tame ones, like, and it doesn't get much better throughout the book either. The next story is called The Conception of the Evil One, which is just another adaptation of a biblical story. It's just the conception of Jesus Christ, really, but he's changed a lot of it to well, you can imagine, really, with this guy's imagination. But the general gist of the story is that Mary is a prostitute, and she gets paid to have intercourse with a bunch of farm animals, and then she eventually gets pregnant with Jesus, and Joseph is her pimp, and he pretends that this all happened, that, like, he was the birth of God or whatever, and goes around and, you know, fills everyone's head with lies. And then Jesus eventually grows up in this story and gets taken away and becomes a carpenter and a sheep farmer or whatever. Then he comes back to his old town where he's now, like, revered, a holy person, and he orders his army to kill people, and then the Jews arrest him and execute him. And yeah, that's basically the general gist of the story. The next story is called The Resurrection of Tiamat, and it starts by saying that we all know that Marduk slayed the great dragon Tiamat, and her flesh was used to create the heavens and earth. But this doesn't really fit into, you know, like, the whole narrative he's made, because I thought Satan created the heavens and earth, but, you know, we won't look too into it. We won't look into the huge plot holes in this, because trust me, there's another huge one coming. But in this story, Marduk slays Tiamat and rewrites all the ancient tablets to destroy the memory of the old ones. He hasn't explained what the old ones are or anything like that. And then he goes on to say that he has seen the Necronomicon, and he goes to visit in his dreams. In the Necronomicon, he saw a ritual to revive Tiamat, and the way that he had to do this was to cull one of the offspring of Marduk, and he says he's not going to reveal the name of this person, and that it was done in England, and that this person didn't exist in the eyes of the law or whatever, and that he had to pay a very high fee to get someone to rat them out. And I can almost guarantee this is all just bullshit, because there's just no way any of this even happened. I think this guy is just trying to make himself sound more badass, but this is just ridiculous. I forgot to mention that in his eyes, Marduk now controls all world religions and uses humanity as slaves, because he controls all world religions and he rewrote all the ancient texts. So I think this is kind of his way of, like, saying that, like, this is the true religion and all that stuff. But I'm really looking forward to the huge plot hole that I don't know how he overlooked this when he put this in the book, but we'll get to it. Then the story culminates in him sacrificing this woman and Tiamat being revived, and a 1,000,000-foot tsunami, an actual quote in this book. He literally wrote 1,000,000-foot tsunami, hit Tiamat and revived her with all the energy of the earth, and, like, blessed them and destroyed the enemy of man. And that's how the story ends, very, very coherently, obviously. The next story is called The Fall of Ahriman, and in this story, Ahriman is convicted of a bunch of really bad stuff that I don't think I can even say on YouTube without my channel getting a community guideline strike, but he believes that Ahriman was sentenced to a 5,000-year fall down a well by the Ancient Ones, and as he fell down this well, every soul that he had tormented would torture him. And I can't really say a lot of the stuff that happened in this book on YouTube, so once again, I'm just gonna say you can go read this. It's quite graphic. Yeah, all I'm gonna say is there's a pig involved, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. The next story is Two Kings, and again, this one is just a biblical adaptation. So once again, it's gonna be quite interesting for you all. So in this story, there's two kingdoms, and the kings are forcing people to work and everything else, and these the men figure out that they can they do some bodily exploration and figure out functions, and then the entire kingdom devolves into orgies and nothing gets done. So they both ask Satan, the two kingdoms ask Satan what to do, and Satan says people are animals and that's what they're gonna do. And Satan said that he would help the two kingdoms by giving them resources, but the kings were greedy and they wanted to fight each other for resources, and they both betrayed each other. And before they both betrayed each other, Satan said if they did, he would no longer help the humans and the world would devolve into chaos. And they betrayed each other, and that's exactly what happened. And yeah, that's the gist of the story, really. The next story is the plot hole that I've been leading up to this whole video, really. This is his version of the story between Satan and God, and in this story he very clearly outlines that he believes God is the creator of man and everything. At first I thought I said that this was just a corrupted version, but no, this is the version that he believes is true, and he very clearly outlines that he believes God is a creator, and that Satan is a title for an adversary or rebellious entity or whatever. So here's the story as it goes. The general gist of it is that he believes that God created humans to be slaves, and that Satan didn't like this, as he does in the Bible, and then gathers up all his angels and whatever to wage war against God, and then he eventually wins in this endeavour. And when he gets to God, he doesn't kill him, he just strips him of all of his powers except for his immortality, and casts him down with his creations to earth. And this is the real plot line, really, because at the start of this book there was a very clear story about Adam and Eve and all that stuff, and Satan creating the earth and humans and everything like that, so I don't really know how this even would fit into his timeline. But yeah, then God goes on to twist all the stuff against Satan and make all sorts of other horrible things. But yeah, that's the general gist of the story, and once again, how would that even fit into this? Because you very clearly at the start of this book outlined that you believed Satan created everything. So, you know, make of this what you will, really. The next bit we're getting into is chapter 3, the subjective rants of a lunatic, and it really does live up to its name. I'll be reading through some of this. This is the little tidbits of philosophy I mentioned at the start of the video he tried to sprinkle throughout the book. It really, you know, it's nothing special for the Satanic community, really. But yeah, getting into it. I won't be going over all of this because, as the title suggests, it's literally just the rants of a lunatic. He talks about all sorts of stuff. He talks about, like, killing for Satanism, Nazi Satanists. He talks about fucking the witch trials. He talks about modern day, he talks about bias towards Satanists. He talks about ritualistic magic and video games, which is the bit that I'm going to be talking about now, because this is probably the funniest bit I could find in this segment. Like I said, a lot of it's not exactly new for Satanism, it's just probably just some stuff he's heard from other people that he's parroting, because I doubt this guy actually holds many interesting standpoints when it comes to Satanism. From the overall reading of the book, he seems to just do this stuff because it probably, well, from the Amazon sales at least, it probably makes him a lot of money, and it's probably a good look for his music career or whatever, if that's what he's pursuing. But yeah, getting into that. In this segment he talks about in place of using, like, if you were doing a destruction ritual and you were to burn a image or something of your target to, like, you know, towards their direction, he is instead saying that you should plug a plug a TV and ritual and plug a TV and like a console in with your ritual chamber, and find somebody like in a game like GTA and kill them really brutally in place of that instead. And I think this really shows like the overall like lack of understanding this guy has when it comes to Satanism, because the reason we do that really is it's it's a physical like show of our intention. If you're doing that in a game, it's not exactly like, you guys know what I mean, like it's not exactly a physical show of that, is it? You're not physically destroying that target or whatever, you're not directing any negative energy towards that person, you're just killing an NPC in a game. It's not you know, it's nothing special. Next chapter is called Marduk, the solar deity and the god of Zionism, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Oh my fuck, Judaism. And in this chapter he tries to prove that, well, Marduk is the god of Islam, Judaism and Christianity. I'm not even gonna get into this because this chapter actually, it takes up about like a quarter of the book, and it has much smaller writing than the rest of the book as well. Like, this is a lot more thing, and I'm nowhere near like brushed up enough on this subject to even talk on this, so I'm just gonna dodge the bullet entirely and just say you guys can read it yourself. If you know, if it's right, it's right, if it's wrong, it's wrong. But I'm not even touching this subject with a 50-foot stick. Alright, it's it's out of my depth, but I am happy to admit that. If you guys like what I do here, drop a like, drop a sub, all that good shit. If you want to support me, you can go down to the description and get for Patreon membership. If you guys want to help out, you can send my videos around to Reddit or Discord and all that nice shit. And yeah, hail Satan, I'll see you in the next one.